how to overcome the stress of witnessing oppression of our brothers and sisters in Islam with current world issues and our limited ability to help. And I think that one of the key stresses that does come up is that feeling of there's nothing I can do, that helplessness that pops up. So I'd love each of you, I guess, to share perhaps, first of all, briefly, what you've witnessed in terms of the stress levels, the overwhelm, the general mood of people since, well, in the last, is it 3.5 weeks? Raisa, do you want to start with that?
Yeah, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. I've seen a lot of franticness and overwhelm and trying to figure out what the problem is and who to blame, or who's at fault. And this just sense of, oh my God, what do we do? Like more of emphasis on the problem or trying to figure out what the problem is. And that causing a sense of, like you said, hopelessness and helplessness, that we have no power or no control in this situation. And that causes us to feel like just mentally and physically drained and exhausted. So I'm feeling like a lot of helplessness, like all I can do is share, and then we're just sharing all these images and these videos. All I could do is share and share, and then use my voice, and we're frantic. And what do we do? How do I help the situation? We want to help so badly, but we're feeling like we can't make a difference.
What about you, Asamini? And especially because I think you also work with youth as well. Have you noticed anything that you can add to that around how people are experiencing this right now?
Yeah, I think similar to what Sister Raisa just mentioned, this helplessness and also frustration about what can we do. I think from the youth perspective, what I've heard from some is that it's so frustrating that people are just dying and we can't do anything, right? All of the kids that we see, all the images, some of it's like, I don't want to see it anymore. I just want to de plug out from all of these things that are happening. And some of it too, I feel like is like paralysis, like because of all the emotions that people are overwhelmed with, that it's almost like some people become paralyzed. Like I can't do my day to day because of what's happening over there. All of my thoughts are what's happening for the people in Palestine and Gaza, and the fact that there's no inaction. Um, there's no action for there's no like there's inaction because they don't know what to do, and they feel paralyzed about what can I do. So the day-to-day things, sometimes there's even guilt for even like having fun or doing a fun activity, because look up, all these people in Gaza are dying, like how could we celebrate here when our brothers and sisters are going through struggle there too? So there's like feelings of guilt, feelings of being paralyzed on what can they do.
Yeah, that guilt one. It's that's the paralyzing one, because it's like, it's not okay for me to live my life, because why should I live my life when they can't live theirs? It's, we've got very confused thinking going on. And for those who are listening in, feel free to type in the comments where you're listening. They do pop up on our screen, and let us know what you've noticed what sort of challenges you may have personally felt. That would be great, and we can engage with you, inshallah. So, Mariam, what have you witnessed in terms of the way people are feeling right now?
Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Personally, I have witnessed my daughter breaking down, and whenever I ask her to take a break from the social media and the internet and what have you, she would tell me that no, Uma, I can't, because it's like I'm abandoning them. They are there helpless. So if I don't post about them, if I don't talk about them, it's like I have abandoned them. So I see, subhanallah, and I see a lot of our Muslim society, in distress, the feeling of helplessness. There is nothing we can do but to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for ease, and to bring ease, yes, in the affairs of the Palestine, subhanallah. All we can do is just to pray, and yeah, I think that's all I have witnessed right now.
So, one of the things that we all understand because of our work at Back to the Fitrah is that being caught up in that state isn't helpful. And in fact, what we understand is that each and every person has a role to play. And it's the way we think about this that is creating our experience of it. And when we focus in on the tragedy on it, we can't see the bigger picture and how we are actually all being part of the solution. And one of the things yesterday, I was having breakfast with a few friends, and one of the sisters said very passionately, our part of our solution is just being out there with our hijab on, not stealing, not being rude, like avoiding all of the bad habits and being our best selves to show them who Muslims really are. Because in fact, Islamophobia in the West has now, I think, tenfold what it was before this broke out. So we're having another peak in Islamophobia. And so we are part of the solution. But if we're stuck in this stressed, overwhelmed state, we're not going to be behaving ourselves in the best way possible. We're going to be walking around with frowns on our faces rather than smiles on our faces. We're going to look scary, gloomy, the sort of people that people won't want to connect with and ask us questions. And so we won't be able to be part of the solution, because there is a bigger picture here. I think what might be really helpful, because we understand this concept of separate realities and how each person is experiencing this through their own reality, is maybe each person share what they see the bigger picture of what's going on here in terms of other things that are happening, like the positives, as a result of this. So we'll just go around the group again, Raisa. So in the bigger picture of things, what are you noticing?
Yeah, I love that perspective of zooming out rather than zooming in. And in zooming out, there's an awakening I sense that's going on for our ummah, but also for a collective of humanity, where this is an opportunity where we're witnessing this type of war and destruction and oppression and genocide like live, where this has happened so many times in history before, but people were not witnessing it. So there's a different level of awareness around that, and the feeling, the connection of humanity, connecting human to human. I'm noticing that as well. I'm noticing, so people are tapping into their own humanity, through the different platforms, the social media platforms that are available to us today, people are becoming more aware about Islam and about Muslims, and people are, I think we have to recognize that people notice and recognize that Muslims are not afraid of death. And Muslims are like, that's very inspiring to see that it's very hard to manipulate and control people that are not attached to dunya, that are willing to sacrifice themselves and their desires for a greater cause, which they will be rewarded. So I feel like there's just a lot of awareness coming to all of these concepts, and we get to showcase that and really reinforce that through how we show up in our interactions, in our community, in our society, in our schools. So it's a very opportunistic time for us as Muslims, especially in the West, or in areas where they're not having that level of oppression, to educate, to show by example, and to be part of the solution in that way. So there's definitely lots of hopeful things and lots of things that I'm seeing, and I zoom out. And of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has his own plan, and everything is unfolding according to that. And the awe that I have and the inspiration of the spiritual and emotional resilience of the Palestinian people and people who are being oppressed, that they, as one person said, when we see them being killed, they're really alive. We're the ones that are dead. We're the ones that are not, because we're living in a different reality. So yeah, there's so much more to say, but that's what comes to my mind.
As a meeting, when you zoom out at the bigger picture, what do you see?
Yes, no, subhanAllah, I see on the Palestinian side just all of the stories and all of the pictures of the people that they're not fearing like the oppressor. They're like holding tight to the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the way that they respond, in the way that they're looking at themselves as martyrs, right? And dying in a state of jihad, holding on to the rope of Allah. And that to me is like hope. Like I see like in the Palestinians, like just hope that Allah is the one who changes everything at the drop of a dime, so he can change this whole condition. And they're aware of that, and they have that tawakkul to be able to withstand what's happening, even in the discomfort and the oppression and all of the tragedy that they're seeing, their own kids dying, right? But they're holding tight to the rope of Allah. And here, where all the protests are happening, like I'm in the US, so what I see is that there are people of multiple faiths, right? Muslims, Jewish, Christians that are holding together against the tyranny of like what's happening against humanity. So there's like groups that are protesting together, and it's multiple faiths. It's not just Muslims out there at a lot of these protests, but there are people of multiple faiths. And so that's something like hopeful too, and positive too, and that that there are people that are saying, no, this isn't right, right? This is a travesty against humanity. And so that also brings me hope. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. And Mariam, I'm not sure if she's frozen or not. Can we hear you, Mariam? Mariam's having a few internet issues today. That's a bit sad, because I was looking forward to hearing what Mariam has to add. Some of the things I've seen is, as a Muslim ummah, we've been quite fragmented, and I feel that we're coming together, that the pettiness that's been between us is falling away, and that we're realizing, we've got to all unite and be a united front and be part of the solution together. And that also, what I see is something that we've seen for the last decades, as we've seen ourselves portrayed in a negative light, that the media has been unjust to us for decades. What I'm noticing is that the general public are now starting to see that. They were blind to it before. And they're starting to also see that the people are coming together and they're saying, this is what we believe. And they're seeing our governments saying, well, bad luck, we're doing it our way anyway. And it's opening their eyes to what's real. We've seen for years what's been going on because we've been the victim of the narrative for decades now, since 9/11. And so now I think other people are starting to see that too. And I do think that's really, really important, that people understand that we're in a situation where, as a humanity globally, if we want the world to be the sort of world we want to live in, then we're all going to have to stand up together, no matter what belief, religious beliefs we have, no matter what color of skin we have. We're going to have to stand up together for a world that we want to live in, and a world that we want our children to be able to live in. Subhanallah. Because, subhanallah. So, Mariam, what have you, when you pan out to the bigger perspective, what do you see? Oh, we're still having troubles. What a shame. So we've got some comments coming in. Walaikum salam to the sisters in London. And assalamu alaikum to Professor Nasser from Egypt, who greets us and supports our initiative. Jazakallah khair for that, and I mean to your dua. Okay, Mariam, you seem to have sound right now. Is there something you can share about what you're seeing as the bigger picture? Sadly, it doesn't seem like it. All right, so I think the next thing that would be very helpful to share is how possible it is to be okay despite this. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said in the Quran that he will never burden anyone with more than they can bear, which means that even the people in Gaza can bear what they're going through. And I think what we're hearing is a real shift. Like, we've heard the odd persons speak resiliently from the beginning, but I gather there has been this real shift from a recent recording I heard where they're actually feeling at peace despite what's going on, because they're feeling so close to Allah right now that there's this tranquility. That's, some of them were saying, we're sleeping peacefully at night despite the fact that the bombing does not stop. Can you imagine that? Can you actually, just for a minute, imagine being peacefully asleep despite the fact that the sound of bombing has not stopped from around you? I mean, that is awe-inspiring. And so when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes a promise, he doesn't break his promises. And he's promised that that everybody can bear whatever they are going through. So that means if they can bear it, surely we can bear it too. And I think it would be great if each of you could share something of wisdom that might help those who are listening get out of the paralysis, get out of the thinking of, I have to worry about this constantly or I'm not being caring. Get out of the thinking of there's nothing I can do. Get out of the just any of the thinking that is really holding people paralyzed and in a really heavy, tired kind of feeling. So Mariam's actually got some sound and able to talk right now, I gather. She's just messaged me. Mariam, do you want to share some wisdom around how people can move forward in their lives in a positive and productive way? We're not hearing you, Mariam, so I'm not sure.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum. I can hear you now.
Awesome. Did you hear my question?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so I'd just like you to share some wisdom while we have you on how people can move forward in a positive and productive way. I think it must be lagging quite a lot, unfortunately. Sorry, Mariam, it's looking like your internet is not your friend today. So, Raisa, what would you suggest people can do, or how they can, better still, how they can think right now in order to move forward in a positive and productive way?
Yeah, I think some of the things that you said about the Palestinian people being at peace while sleeping, while the bombs are going on, they've surrendered and they've accepted their role in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's plan. They know their goal, they know their purpose. And so one of the things that, I would say is really for us to be able to surrender and accept we have a role. We have a role to play in this as well. And so getting back to purpose, getting back to intention, and getting back to what is our goal, and spending the time, limiting the time of consuming on the internet, all of the things that are going on. Yes, we need to be aware and we're spending time, but really being intentional about the amount of time that you spend consuming everything that's happening, and spending that time, whether it's in the daytime or it's nighttime, preparing yourself to spend time alone with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Strengthen yourself, whether it's tahajjud, staying awake at night, doing dhikr, reflecting, just spending time alone with yourself and reflecting, like, what am I being called to do in this moment? Because Allah put me here. I'm alive here at this time in history for a reason. He's looking for me to do something. What is he looking for me to do? Really reflecting on that and knowing that, like, working on your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that's another thing you said, is like they're very connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the present moment, spiritually, emotionally, like they're with him and he's with them. He's with us too. But are we with Allah? So really strengthening our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, looking deeply within, what am I being called to do here? Because this frenzy of, do this and then do that and reach out here, reach out there, we want to be strategic, and we can be strategic if we are reflecting on what is Allah calling me to do, and we can't hear that if we're overwhelmed. So that's some of the suggestions that I have to offer.
Jazakallah khair, Raisa. And what about you, Asamini? What can you add in terms of some wise words to help people move forward positively and productively?
Yes, I really loved what Sister Raisa said about connecting with Allah and being conscious of what you're meant to do, because insight can only come from Him. But making sure too that to be in parallel with being intentional about what you're consuming, like to be gentle with yourself too, like knowing that it's okay to have these emotions of sadness and being aware of what they are, being aware of like how you need to process them, if it's like crying it out or if it's whatever makes sense for you, and like responding from a place when after you've processed those emotions, right? Because we know from this understanding, feelings come from your thought in the moment. So being aware that all these sad thoughts, all these like fearful thoughts, or the things that are coming up for you, like they come and they go. So processing them and just being and letting them pass, and then responding from that place with clarity, like Sister Asa was saying. And another thing I would say too is like this applies for what I've been doing, is like just to reflect on the stories of our prophets, alayhi salam, and they give a sense of hope, right? When we've reached this place of like there's no hope, I don't know if there's hope, and you might have that doubt, but if you actually look and reflect on some of those stories, like I was looking at, the story of Musa alayhi salam, and when he had Fir'aun behind him, and he had no way out. There were stories when he had no way out, right? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala parted the Red Sea for him. Like, so we might think, oh, there's no hope with the people in Gaza, but that's not true, right? That's simply not true, because the Allah is Al-Qadir, and he's all powerful, so he can bring from where we would never expect. So I think for this advice I would give for others that I've been taking myself is just reflecting on those stories, to know that miracles can happen and it can come from anywhere, and Allah is possible for anything. And we saw it, we've seen it in the stories of our prophets, alayhi salam.
Yeah, so have good thinking around Allah is so important right now. And I think that one of the things that's coming to my mind from listening to the two of you is when we're thinking about Allah and we're thinking about how Allah fits into the picture of what's going on here, we will feel that sense of rest, just like he says, in the remembrance of Allah, hearts find rest. But when we are thinking about the politicians, the culprits involved, and what can everybody, and we're intellectually trying to figure out the solution, we're only going to feel the stress, the overwhelm, and get caught up in it. And that's where the difficult feelings come from. We've got a couple of comments in the chat here. So we've had people joining us from LinkedIn, which is fantastic. So Professor Nasser shared with us a hadith here. A group of my ummah will continue to prevail and will never be harmed by those who forsake them until the hour begins. Apparently, Sahih Hadith. Jazakallah for sharing that with us. And also on LinkedIn, Adama is saying this is so informative and very much needed. Jazakallah for your feedback on that. So before we wrap it up, because we don't want to give people too much to listen to, if you are listening in or you're listening to the recording of this, please in the comments share your takeaways, what's been helpful from this. But if you have found it useful, then please share this with others, because there's so much sharing of all the bad news. We need some sharing of the solution to counter that. And we're here to be part of the solution, but we can't be with all the shadow banning and everything that's going on. But the way we can be is if we take these links and share them in our WhatsApp groups and our Telegram groups, and share them everywhere. When you see something that is valuable and helpful to people, share it. And I'd love you to share this. So Adam is saying, I joined quite late, but what I've seen is people speak of guilt and how they wish they could do more to support them. And the thing is, if we were meant to be there supporting them on the ground, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have put us there. But he has put us where we are now so that we can do what we can do right now. And one of the things that was said yesterday at the breakfast I was at was, even just showing up at work, wearing hijab, and being in a state of wisdom to be able to answer questions, being able to counter the lies in a really meaningful way, is being part of the solution. The solution just isn't on the ground in Gaza. This is bigger than Gaza. This is global. And so that means each and every one of us have a role to play. And what we're sharing here is that we all need to be in our wisdom collectively to make an impact. And if we are, then we can make a difference, inshallah, across the globe. So I know there are people who are very challenged. And so we do have something that I'd like to share with you, that if somebody is really struggling, there's a link that should show up on the screen in a moment. There we go. No, not that one. It starts with the same words, but that's not the one. There we go. This is the one. Here we go. Now this is the right link, inshallah. So you can book in and get a support call by going to the link weareallok.com. If you're really struggling and really need help, we want to be able to help anyone who really needs help. If you see the bigger picture that we've shared here and you want to be part of the solution, obviously not like today, but down the track, because this situation isn't going away. This isn't just a once off. We need to collectively be a solution moving forward. Then if you're interested in that, just type the word certification in the comments and we'll send you a link so you can check out our certification program to become a mentor, an educator, mentor, coach, like we are at Back to the Fitrah Mentoring Academy. So before we wrap it up, so you've got the We Are All Okay link here and you've got the certification. Just type that. If you've got any takeaways, share it in the comments, and please share this as much as you can with others so we can bring hope to the Ummah and bring the solution to the Ummah. So everyone, if you'd just like to share one just golden nugget that you would like to share just really quickly before we wrap up. Raisa, what's a golden nugget you'd like to share?
Don't focus on the outcome. Don't do things to get a certain outcome. Do things to please Allah in your wisdom and what is He looking for you to do, and let Him take care of the results.
Beautiful. What about you, Asamini? What's your golden nugget of wisdom to share?
Allah never gives us anything bigger than we can bear. And so everything that's happening in Gaza is as heartbreaking as it is, and everything we're going through here and being there for what we can do, like Allah will never give you anything bigger than you can bear. So just remember that and have hope.
Beautiful. Alhamdulillah. And Mariam, we might just get you in on the last minute. Have you got a word of wisdom to share?
Yeah, subhanallah. I don't know if you hear me. Subhanallah, I want us to all remember that Allah has promised us in a number of places in the Quran, Inna Allah la yukhliful mi'ad. Allah does not, Allah has to fulfill His promise all the times, and Allah has promised that He's going to grant the people of Palestine their freedom. Subhanallah. And also, there is this ayah that keeps coming to my head. وَلَا تَهِنُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا وَأَنْتُمُ الْأَعْلَوْنَ إِن كُنتُمُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. So do not give up, do not lose hope, and no be sad. Allah has told us that. And also, there is a place where Allah said to Musa and Harun, his brother, قال لا تخافا إنني معكما أسمع وأرى. When they were going to the Pharaoh to talk to him, Allah said, do not be scared. I am with you. I see and I hear. So Allah is all aware. Allah is Al-Adim. He is all aware of the things that are happening. Even if we cannot see Allah, Allah can see us. And Allah knows our situation. Allah knows the situation of the people of Palestine. Subhanallah. There is nothing I can say more than I have never seen any human being on earth right now who are as resilient as the people of Gaza. Subhanallah. May Allah continue to strengthen them. They are so resilient and patient, and they are always holding on to the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They know, and even a young to see them on the streets, they are not even scared of the death. They are not. I saw a video of a man running around.
Oh no, I think we've lost her again. It's such a shame we missed out on her wisdom through the call, because look at it. MashaAllah, what's coming out.
Mashallah.
Alhamdulillah.
Subhanallah, I don't know if I'm back.
Yeah, it got
I
cut
just
off.
want me to speak, and wallahi, all I have in my
Yes. So Mariam, the few moments that you've been with us, mashallah, alhamdulillah, so glad that we had them. And I guess my last thought for anyone listening is that this is all part of the qadr of Allah. It's all part of a bigger plan. We may not see what that plan is, but every single one of us has a role to play in this plan. And it's time that we all stepped into those roles and be in a state of ihsan, in a state of iman, in a state of taqwa and tarbiyah and tawakkul, all those wonderful words that we spout around, but truly in those states, and being aware of how important each and every one of you are to the solution in ways that you may not be able to imagine. And to finally remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said in Surah At-Talaq that those who are mindful of Allah, Allah will find a way out for them from every difficulty and will provide for them from means they could never imagine. And whoever puts their trust in Allah, Allah is sufficient for them. And I think that's the beautiful place for us to conclude. Jazakallah khair, each and every one of you. I truly hope that Allah accepts it from us. Anything we've said that is wrong is from us. Anything that is beneficial is from Allah. And we hope and pray that everybody out there fulfills their role and their purpose in this. Yes, and there's a comment here that says what the most difficult part of our current experience is the sense of powerlessness we're enduring. If you've just joined in, we've sort of talked about that. So once we conclude, you could go back to the beginning and listen, inshallah, to what we've shared in this video, inshallah. Jazakallah khair for being here with us, whether you're live or in the replay. Please make sure you share this with others, and please share with us your takeaways in the comments. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.